Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's DealerOn webinar, How to Really Sell Vehicles from the Service Lane, Part 2, The Mindset. My name is Eliana Raggio, and I'll be your moderator today. And today's webinar is being presented by DealerOn. And for anyone who isn't familiar with DealerOn, well, we're an award-winning website development company and digital agency, and we're best known for our search engine optimization, our best-in-class customer service, and our award-winning websites. And I'm very proud to announce that DealerOn was the big winner once again at the Digital Dealer 16 Website Excellence Awards. We snagged awards for highest conversion, highest LTV, lowest bounce rate, and for an amazing 6th time in a row, overall winner. No other website company even comes close. We are so committed to lead conversion, optimization, and customer service that DealerOn is still the only company in the industry to offer a money-back lead guarantee program. So, does your website company guarantee you a 50% lift in leads? Well, then maybe you should check us out at DealerOn.com. And we have a great show in store for you today. We're very pleased to have Jim Kristoff as our presenter today. Jim Kristoff is the Florida Regional Sales Manager for Auto Alert, a data mining solution for dealerships that is currently in 2,500 stores in the U.S. and Canada. A 30-year veteran in the retail automotive industry, Jim has managed and led some of the largest volume dealerships in the country. With 20 years of general manager experience, plus 8 years as a partner in his own Honda store, Jim brings a real retail perspective on how to take your dealership to the next level. You can follow Jim on his website, jimkristoff.com, where he has over 40 videos and 70 articles that can help any dealership reach the next higher level. Or you can email him directly at jim.kristoff@autoalert.com. Now, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the question feature located on the corner of your screen to submit them. At the end of the presentation, we'll answer those questions of general interest. If we're unable to get to your question live, don't worry, we're going to respond by email later today. Also, don't forget, a link to download a copy of this webinar recording is also going to be emailed to you later today for your reference, and please feel free to share it with friends and colleagues. And guess what? Our good friends at Auto Alert, well, they're giving away a fantastic prize today on the webinar. What is it? Well, one of you will be walking away with a $250 Visa gift card, courtesy of your friends at Auto Alert. But you have to be on the live broadcast to win it. All you have to do is stay tuned for details after Jim's presentation, and you could be scoring this awesome prize today. And at the conclusion of the webinar, you're going to receive a short survey. Please fill it out because we're always looking for great feedback from our audience. Today we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all the completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. So let's get started. Let's learn how to really sell vehicles from the service lane. Part 2, the mindset. Jim Kristoff, it has been 5 months since I've had you on my show, and I am so glad to have you back. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me back. We appreciate it.
Now, audience, if you weren't on the live broadcast from February when we had Jim Kristoff on the first time, let me tell you, it was a record-setting webinar and one that will still go down in the record books as one of the best webinars ever, because one of the things that dealerships are always going to need to know is how to make the most out of the things that they already have in place at the dealership. And for you dealerships who have service drives, wouldn't it be great if you could sell, 5 more cars, 10 more cars, 20 more cars, maybe even more per month through your service drive? Of course it would. And that's why we have somebody like Jim Kristoff on here. And let me tell you, this guy, he knows his stuff. And he's going to talk to you today about how to get in the mind to sell more cars from your service drive. And Jim, I am so excited for this webinar. So you take it away.
It's going to be a good time, I can tell you that.
I know, man.
The mindsets, first of all, both for the customer and the dealership, I'm going to really get into a customer's mindset today. I'm really going to give you some things that customers are thinking about, because all too often we just think about what we want to do as a dealership, when in essence we really have to start thinking about what really is the mindset of a customer. And I've got the slide up there. It's a set of beliefs or a way of thinking that determine one's behavior, outlook, and mental attitude. So, we've got to have the right attitude, we've got to have the right behavior, we've got to have the right outlook, and I'm going to cover some of these things. Today's objectives, what I'm going to cover the mindset of today's customers. What are they thinking? What do they really think? What do they think of car dealerships? What do they think of you as a car salesperson, as a manager, as a dealer, as a service advisor? If you're out there greeting customers all day long, we're going to get into the mindset of the customer out there. Then I'm going to get into the mindset of what the dealership should have. If we already know what the customer is thinking, what should our thinking be as a dealership? What should we be thinking of how to overcome some of these obstacles and objections that customers put forth to us on a daily basis? The next thing I'm going to get into after that, I'm going to get into the mindset of how to get the customer to say yes. That means we're going to sell some cars out in the service drive. We're not just going to approach people. I'm going to tell you how to really approach these people, what your mindset should be, what the word track should be, what you should be thinking. So we're going to get the customer to say yes. And just like in anything else in the automobile business, they don't all say yes. So we're going to get into the mindset of what to do when the customer says no. Because if we close 20, 30, 40% of the customers coming in the front door, shouldn't we close that same amount of customers coming in the back door in our service drive? Because Lord knows there's plenty of opportunities out there. Now, in the first webinar I happened to mention, in these databases, in every automotive database, there's somewhere between 10 and 20% of your entire database that's an opportunity to sell a car to. And if we're out in the service drive, Lord knows if we've got 100 repair orders going through the service drive, well, there's 10 or 20 opportunities to sell automobiles. And we really need to take advantage of it, and we really need to know how to do it, because it's got to be something that becomes an everyday part of the dealership. I believe it should be its own department. You've got to have people out there 24/7. Basically greeting these customers, talking to them, and trying to get them to understand that you simply would love to buy their car back. So we're going to get into all that, and then after I get through all that, we're going to have a little Q&A, a little question and answer. In the first webinar, we completed an hour of webinar, and then the questions and answers were another hour. So hopefully we get through them a little quicker today, but I'll be on here as long as it takes to answer all your questions. No worries whatsoever. So let's begin. Let's talk about the customer's mindset. And the customer's mindset, I call this part, and it's what I relate to as stupid knowledge. That's what a customer's mindset is. It's stupid knowledge. We already know what their mindset is. So what I mean by that is we're stupid if we don't acknowledge what their mindset is. And the first thing on that, customers are a bit skeptical of anything we say. And that might be the understatement of the year right there. They're a little skeptical of anything we say. Let's face it, the customers don't like us for the most part. They don't trust us for the most part. They're a little skeptical of anything we're going to present, anything we're about to say. Like I say, that might be the understatement of the year right there. So if we know this, if we know customers are skeptical of what we're going to say, shouldn't we say things convincingly? Shouldn't we have confidence in what we're doing? Shouldn't we keep it simple? Because the second thing that customers' mindsets have, they dislike the whole automotive purchase process, especially the time it takes to do all this. They don't like going through the runaround, going the back and forth, and all these things. We know these things. That's what I mean by stupid knowledge. We know these things. So why aren't we addressing them better at the dealership level, and especially out on the service drive? Because time is an element out there. Time, you have a short period of time that you really need to address these customers. Because again, the customer's mindset, they all have attention spans of 3-year-olds. And I don't mean just the customers, us too. Everyone has the attention span of a 3-year-old. If you go into a restaurant, you go into any place, you see people on their cell phones all the time. They're texting away, they're emailing, they're Facebooking, they're Twittering, they're Instagramming. Whatever you're doing, you're doing it with the attention span of a 3-year-old, because Lord knows they can't stay focused on one thing for too long. So knowing a customer's mindset that they have this short attention span, shouldn't we be concise with our offer? Shouldn't we be direct with our offer? Shouldn't the offer make sense? And these are all the things that I'm going to cover, when we go ahead and I get into really what we have to do to get the customer to say yes to what we're proposing to them. Now, I give a lot of training meetings, and in the training meetings, I always ask this question right here. How old is your cell phone? And the reason I ask that is this, and it's going to relate back to selling cars in the service drive, but think about it. First of all, I ask everyone, of course you've got a cell phone, and everybody raises their hand. Now I ask them this, how many of you have had them for more than 3 years? Not too many people raise their hand. Then I say, how many of you had them for more than 2 years? And I'll get a couple more people to raise their hand. And then how many people have had them 18 months or so? And you get more people to raise their hand. The whole point of the exercise is this. We live in a world right now where technology goes so quickly that we're almost trained to go ahead and do things every 2 years. The iPhone, if you go back and Google it, the iPhone came out in 2006. It's only been around for 8 years. And we think that's ancient technology at this point. If you go back to 2006 and pull out the very first iPhone, you say to yourself, oh my goodness, look at that thing. I mean, what is that all about? So we live in a technology world, so when customers are looking at vehicles, they'd love to upgrade as often as they possibly can, just like their cell phones. So that's part of the customer's mindset, because they're thinking that way also. Another thing the customer's mindset is, where are they in their stage of life? I always start off with this. You're born in diapers, and then they take you out in diapers. Everything else in the middle is called life. So what stage of life are they at? For example, if you were a young person, you might start off with a 2-door car, and then you go to a 4-door car, and then you get married and you have children, and then you go to a sport utility or a van, and then the children get a little older and you don't need the van anymore. You go back to a sport utility or a 4-door car, and then the kids move out of the house, and then you're back to a 2-door car because maybe you don't need a 4-door car. What stage of life are they in? Because customers are always changing the car that they have. If you take a look at it, and you take a look at all of the deals that you do, I would hazard to guess less than 10, maybe 15% of the people, when they trade in their car, get the same exact new car when they buy a new car. So, what happens there is they go and get something better. They go and get something. Maybe they didn't get the navigation last time, and this time they get the navigation. They didn't get leather and a sunroof. Maybe they want leather and a sunroof. Maybe they need a bigger car because that's what they need. That's what stage of life they're in. All these people, they do different things in different stages of their lives. Maybe they've gotten a job where they have to travel further, so they're going from a bigger car to a smaller car because they need more gas mileage. So in the customer's mind, what stage of life are they in? What are they going to use the car for? And it's all about getting into the customer's mind so we can understand how important that is to them when we go to sell them something. Now, these next 3 points here, I got these out of J.D. Powers and several other surveys that are out there. It's very interesting when I look at these things. The average length of an automobile loan these days is 64 months. Now that's, some people get 48 months financing and 60-month financing and 72 months financing and 84-month financing. But the average loan happens to be 64 months right now. And the average trade-in on these cars is 42 months. Now the reason I bring that up is hardly anyone takes them to term. When somebody buys a new car or a pre-owned car, very, very seldom do they take them all the way through those 60 months or 72 months. They're trading out of them at any given time. So that's an important thing to remember when we're going to approach these customers, because they're always in a position where they're having a payment. They have a payment. They live and die with a car payment. Now, there are some people that pay off their cars and they don't want to have any payments. And guess what? 6 or 8 months after they stop having car payments, they usually go out and get another car, and they begin the whole car payment cycle again. So if the average loan is 64 months and the average trade-in is 42 months, here's the biggest statistic that I found. 24 months is the average time that people are already thinking about getting their next vehicle. 24 months. It's almost like a cell phone. You want to upgrade your cell phone in 24 months. You're in a 24-month cycle. You're not eligible for an upgrade for 24 months. What are these customers thinking at 24 months? I can tell you what they're thinking. Again, maybe they didn't get the navigation system in the car, and this time they want a navigation. Maybe they didn't get leather. Maybe they didn't get a sunroof. Maybe they need a bigger car. Maybe the color of the car wasn't exactly what they thought. Maybe they purchased a darker colored car and it shows all the dirt, and they'd rather go back to a silver car or something that doesn't show the dirt. Everybody's got their own mindset of what they want in an automobile, but I can tell you at 24 months, people are already thinking about their next car purchase. So shouldn't we be there in front of them, offering them an option to do something? And I think that's very important when we're out in the service drive, because that's what we're doing. We're offering them an option. We're looking for those customers out there that are at that stage in their life. They're at that stage where they want something different. They want the navigation. They want the sunroof. They want the leather. So those are the kinds of people that we really want to approach right there. And when we do, voila, we're going to sell a car in the service drive. And I'm going to get into that further on in the webinar here. I just wanted to cover all those things that are in the customer's mindset, because we're going to relate back to them as we move on. All these things, they're skeptical of everything we say. That's going to be the main thrust of what we talk about today, because if we know they're skeptical, we know they don't trust us, we know that they don't, for the most part, like us in some cases, shouldn't we be convincing? Shouldn't we be sincere? Shouldn't we give them a non-salesy type of offer to purchase their car? So that's what we're going to cover here today, as we further on in the mindset of how to sell cars in the service lane. But right now, Eliana, I think you have a poll question.
You heard the man. I do. I have a poll question for you, audience, and it's on the screen now. We want to know, do you currently have a process in place to sell vehicles in your service drive? Please select one of the following answers. Is it, yes we do and it's working great, but we're always looking to improve? Maybe the answer for you is, yes we do, but you know what? We're just not getting great results, or we're not getting the results we really want. Is it, you know what, we tried it before and it wasn't that successful? Or maybe the answer is, no, you don't have a process in place right now, but you want to, and that's why you're here today. Or maybe the answer is, no, but I'm ready to be convinced otherwise. Whatever the answer is, well, hey, we want to know. There's no wrong answer here, I don't think. And so we want to know, do you currently have a process in place to sell vehicles in your service drive? And once we get a majority of the votes in, we'll close the poll and we'll share the results. And by the way, Jim,
yes,
I'm very excited to learn the mindset. So I mean, even though I don't sell cars, I can see that the next time I go buy a car, that this information might be handy for me too. So I'm pretty excited about this. I want to know what happens. All right, audience, thank you so much for your votes. Almost everyone's voted, and you guys are awesome. So let's close this poll and share the results, shall we? All right, so 34% of today's audience said they do have a process in place to sell vehicles in your service drive. Hey, that's awesome.
Woohoo!
Jim, hey, how did you know that, right? So 34%, that's actually the majority. We got an additional 32% said yes, they also have a process in place to sell vehicles from their service drive, but they're not getting the kind of results that they're looking for, and that's why they're here today. We have 4% who said they've tried it, but were unsuccessful. 28% of today's audience said they don't have a process in place, but they want to. And only 2% of today's audience said no, but they're ready to be convinced otherwise. Jim Kristoff, what do you have to say to my amazing audience today?
Let's start doing some convincing. Let's start getting the right processes. Let's start getting the right mindset. Because I can tell you, I do this. I'm the Florida regional manager here now for Auto Alert, and I can tell you I've got several successful stores out there doing 20, 30, 40. I've got a couple of dealerships that are doing over 100 vehicles every month just from the service drive.
Get
so if you think
out
it can't
of
happen,
town. Are you serious?
absolutely. If you think it can't be done, you're just not realizing how to do it. You're just plain old messing up the whole process, because it's not a difficult process, but you've got to have the right word tracks, the right mindset, and the right things to say to the customers, because again, they're skeptical of everything we say, right? So let's get into the dealership's mindset. Let's talk about what we should be doing at the dealership to prepare for these customers, because again, all these customers, if the customer is skeptical, why do we sound like salespeople? I mean, I think the worst approach you can have if you're trying to approach a customer in the service drive, and by the way, these customers that we're approaching in the service drive, they really don't have an idea that they're about to buy a car. They have maybe in the back of their mind they're considering it. They didn't get the navigation. They'd rather have leather. They need a bigger car. They need a smaller car. Whatever they're at in the stage of their life. But if we approach them with some salesy kind of pitch, if we walk up to them with a bunch of white coats and tell them we've got a buyback program, well, customers don't care about our program. They care about their program. It's got to be what's in it for them, because they could care less what's in it for the dealership. They really could. So if we know if the customer's mindset is they're skeptical of anything we say, why would we want to sound like we're selling something? It has to be sincere. It has to be convincing. I'm going to cover that here coming up. We also need to listen, not listen to respond. That's one of the bigger points that I can really get out there. Too many times as salespeople, we listen with the intent of responding to them, but we're really not listening to them. We're not listening to what they say. That we're not listening to what they really want. We're listening because we want to respond as quickly as possible. And responding as quickly as possible really isn't the main focus of what you need to do. You really need to listen to what the customer is going to say. I'm going to tie that back into how to get them to say yes further on here in the webinar. Every dealership that I roll this process out into in the service drive, I ask them to take 3 words out of their vocabulary when they're talking to customers. And those 3 words are sell, trade, and sale. You see, I don't want to sell these people a car. I want to buy theirs back from them. I don't want to use the word trade, because as soon as I use the word trade, customers can figure out, oh crap, I'm about to be sold something. And it's not a sale, because if we're out in the service drive trying to buy back cars, this is not a sale that ends Saturday night at 6 o'clock, is it? It's not a sale that ends at the end of the month or the end of the quarter or the end of the year. Matter of fact, it's not a sale at all. It's an opportunity to buy their car back from them. So what we have to do is stop making presentations. Stop making presentations to customers and start having conversations. Start having conversations about what they truly want and what's truly important to them. Because I can tell you a little story. Tell me more, define what the customer truly means. And I can tell you back in the 80s, when I was a sales manager at a fairly large Toyota store, we were busy one Saturday. And we had a customer come to the sales office and complain that they weren't getting taken care of. No salesperson was helping them. So as the sales manager, I introduced myself to them and welcomed them to the dealership. And our standard, first line that we asked them, the first question we asked the customer was, in coming to the dealership today, can you tell me what the most important thing you're looking for? So that way we could get some kind of idea of what they were looking for. This gentleman tells me he wants a safe car. He wants a safe car. So back in the mid-'80s there, we certainly didn't have any airbags, so I went into an Academy Award performance on seat belts, 5-mile-an-hour bumpers, and crumple zones, because those were the only safety features we had back then. I can tell you, I'm a couple of minutes into this Academy Award-winning performance, and the customer's not paying any attention to what I'm saying. So I happened to look at him and I said, sir, you know, I asked you a question when you initially came in. I asked you what the most important thing in an automobile that you were looking for, and you told me a safe car. So now I'm showing you the safety features, and you don't seem to be paying attention. Can you tell me why? He says, you're not listening to me. That's what I mean by tell me more and define what the customer truly means. So right then and there, I said to him, I said, what do you mean by safe? Can you tell me more? He goes on to tell me, I'm looking for a car that I'm not $5,000 upside down in when I go to trade it in. In other words, he was looking for a safe investment. But I assumed that he meant safety features. So when we're talking to customers, the dealership's mindset to truly understand what the customer's talking about, every time we ask them a question and every time the customer answers, go back and have them define what they mean by that answer so we clearly understand, because stupid knowledge will tell us that customers, you know, it's all a time element. Salespeople waste my time. And the reason they feel that salespeople waste their time is they don't ask them enough questions. And if we truly don't know what the customer means, let's find out what they mean. Define it. Define it. Tell me more, Mr. Customer. Tell me what you mean by a safe car. So in a dealership's mindset, we should be asking all these questions. You know, that's what the customer is thinking. So let's get it out of them. Let's get out the definitions of what they're really looking for. Listen to find out where the customer is in their stage of life. I mean, let's find out where they're at. Let's find out what kind of car they want. Let's find out why they want that particular car. The more questions we ask, the better off we are. I mean, the best closers or the best salespeople are simply the ones that ask the most questions. So let's ask the most questions. We know customers are skeptical of us. So, you know, you simply say, listen, I'd like to ask you some questions so I can clearly define exactly what you're looking for, so that way I can best suit your needs. So let's ask some more questions there. Listen to find out where they are in their stage of life right there. Have an attitude of gratitude. I can't tell you how many times I see salespeople and service advisors and managers and everyone simply not even thank a customer for their business. Have that attitude of gratitude. Walk up to them. Without the customer, we basically don't have a job. So let's have that attitude of gratitude. Let's be sincere about what we're doing and make sure that we tell the customer how important they are to us, because in the end, we have to be that consummate professional. We have to show the professionalism. We have to do all those right things. So that's what a dealership's mindset should be. So you got the customer's mindset, and again, the main portion of the customer's mindset is they're very skeptical about what we're going to say, what we're going to do, what we're offering. They're you know, let's face it, the vast majority of them don't trust us. They don't like us. So let's turn that around. If we know that to be a fact, let's turn that around, which gets us into the next portion of the webinar, the mindset of yes. You know, the mindset of yes is this. We're going to go through all kinds of things so that way when we go to approach this customer in the service drive and give them the opportunity to sell us their car back, because that's our presentation right there. We don't want to sell them a car. We don't want them to trade it in. It's not a sale. We want to buy their car. So the first thing we're going to do, obviously, is utilize the data mining tool to identify the best opportunities that are out there. Find those people. Find those people that are somewhere between 10 and 20% of your entire database of customers. Like I say, if you've got 100 repair orders coming through your service drive on a daily basis, or how long that takes, if it takes 2 days to get 100 cars through there, so you got some dealerships that's almost by the hour they get 100 repair orders through their service drive. So let's utilize our data mining tool to find those best opportunities, because again, in your total database of customers, there's somewhere between 10 and 20% of the total database that's an opportunity to sell a car to. So in order to do that, in order to succeed in getting the customer to say yes, stop selling them a vehicle and buy back theirs. We're going to tell a story. We're going to tell a story utilizing a conversation and not a presentation. What I'm going to do basically, I'm going to walk up to a customer. I'm going to let them finish with their service, with the service advisor, because as a salesperson out in the service drive, we don't want to interrupt the service process. We want to go ahead and let the customer proceed with their service appointment, get all the information to the service advisor, get the car into the shop. Let's not get in the way of any of that. But what we want to do, we want to walk up to this customer and begin to tell them a story, because stories are what sell cars. Here's the story. When somebody walks into the front door, when we greet an opportunity that walks in the front door, we ask them a lot of questions. We want to find out what their wants and needs are. And the reason we want to find out their wants and needs, we're going to take all those wants and needs, and this automobile right here is going to fulfill all of their wants and needs. And that's sales 101 right there. Now we're flipping it around. If we're going to try to buy their vehicle back from them, we have to tell them our wants and needs. It's our story. It's our story, and it's not a presentation. It's very simple. We're gonna walk up to these customers and simply say, listen, my name is Jim Kristoff. I'm in charge of vehicle acquisitions here at the store. I see you're driving a particular year, make, and model automobile. Wow, what a great car that is. I can tell you, we'd love to have the opportunity to buy that car back from you. Matter of fact, this is the way we replenish our pre-owned inventory. We can't really find these customers. We can't find these cars at the auctions, so we find it's much easier to repurchase these vehicles back from our customers, because if we try to buy them at the auction, they're either have too many miles on them or they're just plain beat up, and we don't want to buy those cars for our customers that would like to buy pre-owned cars. So we're going to tell this customer a story. Matter of fact, the best vehicle we can obtain is the one that was originally purchased and serviced at the vehicle, or at the dealership rather. These are the best cars that we can have. So again, I'm going to walk up to a customer. I'm going to introduce myself. Hi, my name's Jim Kristoff. I'm in charge of vehicle acquisitions here at the dealership. How you doing today? I see you're driving a particular year, make, and model car. Man, I'll tell you what, we would love to have the opportunity to buy that vehicle back from you. Matter of fact, when we try to go to the auction and buy these cars, we can't find them. So buying this vehicle back from you is the best way we have to replenish our used car inventory. And to be honest with you, the best vehicle we can have in our used car inventory is one that was originally purchased here and serviced here. Because what does a used car customer really want when they come in, when they go to buy a vehicle? They want to take a look at a Carfax. So if I had your vehicle that I'd love to buy back from you, and its twin sister sitting next to each other out in the used car lot. Now your vehicle, of course, has been purchased here. It's been serviced here. I have all the service records that I could give the next person that would like to buy your vehicle. I have all that information for a used car buyer that's interested in buying your vehicle. Now your twin sister next to it, the same identical car, same year, same make, same model, same mileage, same condition, that vehicle was originally purchased in Oklahoma, and then it was registered in Philadelphia, and then it was driven in Virginia, and then it was sold via auction, and now it's sitting in the used car lot. What vehicle do you think used car customers would rather have? You think they would rather have one that was originally purchased here and serviced here, that I have all the service records, or one that was, we have an unknown? Because Lord knows, cars are, you hear stories on TV all the time about floods that happen, storms that happen, things that happen. Cars go floating down the river, and the next thing you know, they're getting sold at the auction. We don't want to have those cars in our used car inventory. So telling the story of why you want to buy these cars back is really going to pay dividends for you, because again, in that conversation that I have with a customer, did I once tell them I wanted to sell a car? Did I once say anything about selling them a car? Did I say anything that sounded salesy at all? We have to turn these things into conversations, and conversations are what sell. Stories are what sell, Because again, if we're out in the service drive, these people are not walking in the front door. They're not prepared to buy an automobile. They haven't really thought about it all the way through. They haven't gone on the various websites you can go on out there and get cost on the new car, cost on their trade-in, all these different things. But in the back of their mind, they're already thinking, geez, I'd really like to get another car. So if we tell them this, we'd love to have the opportunity to buy your car back. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And if we use our data mining tool, this is how badly we'd like to buy your car from you. What if I told you if we could buy your car from you, we could give you a brand new one? Keep your payment right about the same as it is now, and I don't even need any money from you. That's how badly we'd like to purchase yours from you. If we present it in that way, if we turn it into a conversation and stop being a salesy type of presentation, we're going to optimize the whole process of selling cars in the service drive. Because again, I'm going to go back to customers are very skeptical of what we're saying. They're very skeptical of anything we present. And if we simply tell them a story, we tell them a story of how difficult it is to find pre-owned automobiles, how difficult it is to obtain them for your used car inventory. We'd much rather repurchase them back from our customers. And what's in it for the customer? Well, geez, if we can buy your vehicle back from you, we'd gladly give you a brand new one. We're basically going to exchange keys with you, keep your payment right about the same, and I don't even need any money from you. That is an offer that not too many people can walk away from. That's really got to be the mindset of yes. You've got to tell the story. You've got to set the example. Don't do a presentation. Don't do a canned pitch. Don't go from hood to trunk. Don't do these things. It is not going to optimize what you're doing out there. If you simply have a conversation, that's going to optimize what you're doing out there. So that's really the mindset of yes, the mindset of getting people to agree to at least give this a shot. So I hope that helped there. I know there's going to be a bunch of questions on that. But before we proceed, Eliana, we've got our second poll question.
Yes, we do. And audience, I hope you're ready for it. And Jim, great stuff. And yes, we are getting some great questions. Audience, if you haven't written in your question yet, don't hesitate. We're going to be getting to all of your audience questions right after Jim's formal presentation. All right, let's get to the next poll question. And it's on the screen now, so please vote. We want to know, do you currently have a data mining solution in place at your dealership? Well, we have a few answers here for you to check and see if one of those is the right answer that is happening at your dealership. So, do you currently have a data mining solution in place at your dealership? Yes, and it's working great. Yes, but we aren't utilizing it as much as we could. No, but we're thinking about it. No, management would never spend money on that. Or, I didn't even know data mining solutions even existed. So once you have an answer in mind, well, get your vote in. We want your votes in so we can see what's going on in the auto community as a whole. And I see people are writing in their answers, and while I love getting your answers, it's possible that you can't get your answers in. You might be watching this on an iPad or something like that. If you are, then I understand why you're writing your answers in. But if there's any possible way that you can actually click on that radio button and get your votes counted, well, we'd really appreciate that. We're going to, actually, we have almost everyone voting now, except for the few people who wrote in. So I'm going to close this poll and share the results. And audience, thank you so much for getting involved with our poll questions. We really appreciate it. Here we go. 29% of today's audience said yes, they do have a data mining solution in place, and it's working great. Now, the majority, 47% of today's audience said that they also have a data mining solution in place, but they admit that they're not utilizing it as much as they could. That's 47%. That's nearly half, Jim, by the way.
Wow.
Now, 15% of today's audience said no, they don't have one yet, but they are thinking about it. 4% of today's audience said that their management would never spend money on a data mining solution. And 5% of today's audience said that they don't even know what a data mining solution is. So, Jim, where do you want to start with this? Do you want to first explain what a data mining solution is?
A data mining what a data mining solution will do is go into the database of all your customers. It'll pull out all of your sales files, your service files, and what a data mining solution will do is identify all of the great profit opportunities that you have within the dealership. They'll identify things like people that we can sell cars to, because as I mentioned, anywhere between 10 and 20% of your entire database you can sell another car to, keep their payment the same, and they don't even have to give you any money. So people are payment buyers. Why wouldn't you offer them up that opportunity to get into another car? Because at 24 months, they're already thinking about getting another car. And if we can actually do it, I'm almost positive customers would go ahead and do that right there. And for those of you that don't have a data mining solution, what was the percentage of that again, Eliana, that they don't have a data mining solution?
Well, 4% said that they don't and that management would never spend money on that. But 15% said that they don't have one, but they're thinking about it.
Well, the 15% that are thinking about it, you should probably just take a step forward. Just go ahead and ante up. And the 4% where the management wouldn't even consider it, those are the folks that don't even want to train their people. They don't even want to train their people, because what happens if we train them and they leave? And I always say, what happens if you don't train them and they stay? So, you know, it's all about maximizing your opportunities and doing the right things there. Interesting poll. Very good poll.
Very good. And, you know, like I said, the majority, 47%, have a data mining solution, but they're looking to really optimize it. They're not using it as much as they could. Like Becky, she says they spend a lot of money on it, but it's a great program. We just need to hone our skills, and it can only make it better. So.
Amen to that, Becky. Amen to that. You've really, it really comes down to the approach. And again, customers are skeptical of what we're saying, so why would we want to give them a salesy type of approach? It's not going to work. It just simply doesn't. It's going to work in some cases, but for the most part, it's just not going to work. We need to go have conversations with customers and give them the story of why we'd really like to purchase their automobile from them. Tell them, you know, exactly why we want to purchase it, the story behind it. We can't find these cars. There's no better car we can have in our used car inventory than one that was originally purchased there and serviced there. All these are stories that we need to tell a customer, and it gives them a reason. Again, we're having a conversation with them. We're not having a presentation, because they only want to see or hear what they want to see or hear. If we have a conversation, they actually have to start listening to us. So what we want to do, what we want to cover next is what to do when the customer says no. Because just because we walk up to these customers in the service drive, just because we have a confident conviction in our tone of approaching these customers with, hey, we'd love to buy your vehicle back from you, and here's the reasons why. We can't find these cars at the auction, and when we do find them, they're either beat up or they've got too many miles on them, and it's much easier for us to replenish our inventory by buying cars back from our customers. We can say all those things, and believe it or not, customers will still tell us no. You know why? Because they haven't heard it often enough. If it's the very first time you're approaching this customer and you're making this offer to them, guess what's going to happen? They're probably going to say no. And when they say no, there's no need to pressure them. They already do business with you. These are not people that are walking in the front door for the very first time. These are people you already do business with. These are already people that like you. These are already people that have a certain degree of trust with you. Why would you want to alienate them? Because I see it over and over and over again. Dealerships try to close these people like they're a regular opportunity walking in the front door. And in essence, they're not. They're already doing business with you. So why would you want to pressure them? Why would you want to irritate them? It's okay. When somebody tells me no, I say no problem. No problem at all. I would love to buy your vehicle today, but I'll also want to buy it tomorrow. I'll buy it next week. I'll buy it next month. Heck, I'll wait a year or two if I have to. and get their permission to reach back out to them in 60 days with their preferred method of contact, which means if they prefer an email, send them an email. If they prefer a phone call on their cell, call them on the cell. If you've got texting ability, go ahead and text them. I say those very words to customers. No problem. I would love to buy your vehicle today, but I'll also buy it tomorrow. I'll buy it next week. I'll buy it next month. I'll even buy it next year. You know what? It's an offer that never expires, because guess what? They're not going to keep that car forever. Again, the average loan was 64 months. The average length of the loan was 64 months, right? The average trade-in is 42 months. These people are not taking these loans to term. They're not keeping them forever. Very few people are going to buy a car and keep it 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 miles. Now, you've got examples of that out there, but they're not keeping it forever. It's just in the hard and cold facts. The majority of people trade them in every 42 months. They're always going to have a payment. And again, if we don't pressure them, if we don't start pushing them, and you say those very words, which these words are, I would love to buy your vehicle today, but I'll also buy it tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. When you say those words, you can almost see the relief on a customer by saying, wow, this person isn't really pressuring me to do this. Because what we want to do, if it's the very first time that they've heard this opportunity, it's the very first time you've presented this opportunity to them, they're probably going to say no. Now, you're going to have a percentage of people that say, wow, I'm already at that stage. I already need something else. Lord knows the kids are getting better or bigger. I need to go from this four-door car. I need at least a sport utility, maybe a van. Maybe they're already at that point. But I've got stores out there that plant this seed on delivery. And when I say plant the seed, this is what I mean. On delivery. If Eliana was taking delivery from the dealership today, and I was the sales manager, because usually the sales manager, one of the last things that happens is a sales manager goes, shakes the hand of the customer, and thanks them for their business. So while Jim Kristoff, the sales manager, is thanking Eliana, the customer, for her business today, I'm going to include this. You know, Eliana, don't be surprised if we don't pick up the phone somewhere between 18 and 36 months from now and just simply buy that car back from you. Well, Eliana's going to look at you and go, what are you talking about? Well, Eliana, I can tell you we have a huge demand for 1, 2, and 3-year-old cars, and I can tell you that I can't find these cars at the auction. And it's much easier for me to purchase these vehicles back from our own customers. And, of course, there's got to be something in it for you if you allow us to buy this car back from you. Here's what we'll probably end up doing. We'll probably just end up giving you another brand new one, keep your payment right about the same, and you won't even have to give me any money. But congratulations on your purchase today, Eliana. We appreciate your business, and away we go. That's what I mean by planting the seed. I've got dealerships out there that are planting the seed from day one. Because as salespeople, we're required to contact our customers a certain amount of times a year. So, when we call our customer, if I call Eliana back tomorrow, it's still the honeymoon period. Eliana still loves me. She still loves me because she just bought her new car. She might have questions. I'm going to answer all those questions. The first 3 or 4 phone calls go really, really well. But after Eliana owns the car for 8 months, 10 months, 12 months, 15 months, what do I have to say? What words do I have to say to Eliana when I call her on the phone? I can ask her about her kids, about her life. Geez, how's that going? How's this going? How you doing? Pretty soon, Eliana really doesn't even really want to talk to me because we're not best friends. I'm the car salesman. So if we're going to call our customers back, at least let's keep watering that seed. If I call Eliana back and she's owned this car for 10 months, 12 months, I'm going to go ahead and water that seed. Because I'm going to say to her, Eliana, just be prepared. Like my sales manager told you, the day you bought the car, somewhere between 18 and 36 months, we're probably going to just buy this car back from you. And then if we do, we're just going to end up giving you another brand new one, keep your payment right about the same, and you won't even have to give me any money. Now, if we keep repeating that to Eliana, there's going to come a point in time when she's going to say to herself, you know what, I'm ready for a new vehicle. I'm ready for something different. You know what, you want to buy this car back? Fantastic. And here's the best part, when it does become a true opportunity to take them out of that vehicle, put them in another vehicle for about the same payment with no money down, it isn't the first time they've heard it. This isn't the first time they've heard the story. As a matter of fact, I always go on to tell, listen, you know, I'd love to buy your car today, but I'll also buy it tomorrow. I'll buy it next week, next month, next year. Here's what I'd like you to consider. I just want to be number one on that list when you're ready to sell your vehicle. Because God forbid you want to go buy another product. You know, and that's your choice. If that's really what you want to do, that's okay also. But please, before you consummate that deal, before you go and buy a different product, please let us have the opportunity to buy this car back from you. At the very least, if you plant that seed, you might have one last shot at the Eliana before she goes and buys a different product, because in the back of her head, if we've repeated this story over and over and over to her, we've told her this, we want to buy your car back. It's a valuable thing to us. We can't find these cars at the auction. It's easier to buy these cars back from our customers. The best car we can have in our used car inventory is one that was originally purchased here and serviced here. If we keep telling her all those things, pretty soon it's going to sink in. And that way, if she goes to buy a different product, well, maybe she'll just give us the last shot, because she'll say to herself, you know what, they really wanted to buy my car back there. I'm going to go ahead and go down there and let them go ahead and do that, because they really want that thing. And again, we're going to have the last shot at selling Eliana a car, because always remember this, you can never talk anyone into anything. All you can do is give them enough information so that they can talk themselves into it. You can't talk anybody into anything. You've just got to give them enough information. And by giving them enough information, that means you're planting the seed. You continue to water it, because customers are going to tell you no. Don't pressure them. They're already doing business with you. There's no need to pressure these people. Use that exact word track. I would love to buy your vehicle today, but I'll also buy it tomorrow. I'll buy it next week, next month, and even next year. Heck, if they're in a 60-month loan and they're an opportunity right now to put them into another car for about the same payment with no money down, and they're only 24 months into a 60-month loan, well, heck, they're going to be an opportunity for another 36 months, aren't they? So if we tell them once, maybe in another couple months they come back in for service, we can tell them again. They come back for another few months later, they come back in for service, we tell them again. Lord knows sometimes it takes us 3, 4, 5 times to get through to these customers so they truly understand this is really what we want to do. And if we turn it into a story, we turn it into a conversation, it's not a salesy kind of a pitch. We're not out there with the white lab coats and all that other silly stuff that goes on out there. We just simply have a conversation with a customer. We're going to win more times than not. And that's really the mindset of what to do when the customer tells us no. It's truly, I've seen it happen time and time and time again, and customers will look at you because you're not pressuring them. Then all of a sudden they start leaning forward. So you really want to buy my car? Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have the opportunity to do that. Well, I'd consider that. Let's go ahead and do that. And the next thing you know, you're off on a car deal. So that's what to do when the customer tells you no. Some of the takeaways I'd like you to consider today, all right? Again, customers are skeptical. Please be genuine with whatever you do. It's a conversation. I mean, have a conversation with a customer. Listen to listen. Don't listen to respond. There's too many times we all do it. We all do it in our own personal lives. And especially when we're trying to sell something, we listen to respond rather than try to listen to listen. You know, tell me more about what you mean by a safe car. Because if I had stopped there, if I had asked the question, I probably wouldn't have alienated the customer. And oh, by the way, we ended up selling that customer. But I can tell you that the gentleman was really difficult, and I had to stop and slow down and really start having a conversation with him. I stopped all the presentation. I dragged him to a table, sat him down, and I said, okay, tell me what you really want to do. Because obviously you're not going to go with my program. Let's go with your program. Let's find out what's going on there. Next point, stop selling. Stop selling these people cars. It's not about selling cars. I ask you to take 3 words out of your vocabulary. The 3 words are sell, trade, and sale. Don't use them. Stop selling. Start buying. Start buying cars back from customers. Consider yourself almost like a wholesaler out in the service drive out there, and you're going out and you're just it's almost like going to an auction. They're all running through the auction lane just like they're all running through your service lane. Pick out the ones you want to buy, the ones you can do utilizing a data mining tool. Pick them out, buy them back from the customers. Stop selling them. And the last point, plant the seed and keep watering it. I can't emphasize that enough. If it's the first time they've ever heard this presentation, they're going to tell you no. If Eliana and I walked into a department store right now and a clerk walked up to us and said, "Can we help you?" You know, the first words out of our mouths are going to be this: "No, thank you, I'm just looking." We're almost trained to say no as human beings. And after we figure out what we want, then we're looking for that sales clerk. Well, you know, that's what customers are going to tell us. They're going to tell us no until we give them a reason to tell us yes. And the reason they're going to say yes is utilizing the story, utilizing the word tracks, turning it into a conversation. That's really what's going to be successful out there. I hope you got a lot out of this webinar. We're going to turn it over to Eliana. Got some questions and answers. Let's rock and roll. Let's start asking questions.
Thank you so much, Jim. That was wonderful. Audience, if you have a question for today's presenter, well, now's a great time to write those questions in. We're going to get to those in just a minute. Oh, I see a lot of questions are coming in right now. Fabulous. We're going to get to those in just a minute. Before we get to your questions, and, of course, to also give you a little bit of time to compose and write those questions in, well, we got something to give away, don't we, Jim?
Yes, we do. Tell us, Eliana, what else can they win?
I was hoping you were going to do that. All right, well, it's that time. If you missed it at the beginning of the webinar, well, I announced that our good friends at Auto Alert are giving away a fabulous prize today on the webinar. What is it? Well, they're going to be awarding one of you lucky webinar attendees with a $250 Visa gift card. Boom! All you have to do is answer a simple question about today's presentation, and the first one to write in the correct response will win this awesome prize. So get to your keyboards, get ready, good luck everyone, and I do not accept answers to anything unless I've read the question first.
They're already answering questions?
If you have sent
what's the question?
They're guessing the answers. If you have already sent in an answer, I will be disregarding it until after the question is asked. Thank you very much.
You know, on Jeopardy, they don't let them get in. Alex Trebek has to finish the question before they can even beep in. What's going on there? What you guys are cheating?
Let me tell you something, audience. It's my birthday. I want this gift as much as you do. I want this $250 gift card. Yes, people are writing in, we're greedy, we want it. I get it. Okay, here we go. Thank you. Thank you for the birthday wishes. I do appreciate that. Yes, I'm getting older. Okay, here we go. The question is, oh my gosh, there's a lot of birthdays coming in.
Happy birthday, Eliana. Matter of fact, you know, I would sing to you, but, you know, that's not part of this webinar. We'll have to take that offline somewhere.
All right, good luck, everyone. I really do appreciate the birthday wishes. Okay, I want somebody to win this, and you got to be a fast typer to win this. Here we go. How far into a customer's car purchase does the average customer think about their next car? Yeah, that's right. I know. You guys all know the answer.
I only repeated it about 178 times. So.
There's a lot of people who wrote in.
You know what? Maybe Auto Alert will give everyone a $250 card.
Whoa, hold on a second there, fella. Don't get me in trouble, man.
We'll just charge DealerOn for them. That's all. But don't worry about it.
You are really going to get me in trouble now. Okay. Let me scroll back up here. So somewhere between all the happy birthdays. Okay, let's see here. Thank you so much to who is this average loan? Wow, I'm going to have to give it to Jeff Holman. He put average loan 64 months, trade 42 months, thinking about a new car 24 months. Wow, he's got fast fingers. Jeff Holman, you were the first person to write in 24 months. Of course, after I said that the question was going to be read. So Jeff Holman, you're our winner.
Congratulations, Jeff.
Jeff Holman, I am writing down your name. Jeff, if you wouldn't mind writing in and letting me know what dealership you are from, and of course a mailing address would be great, so our good friends at Auto Alert can send you out your $250 gift card. And by the way, Jeff, I also accept $250 gift cards from Visa, so if you'd like to send it to me directly, I'm kidding. Enjoy it in good health, my friend. Audience, thank you so much for playing along. And yes, a lot of you got the question right. Yes, and Alex, yes, you were the first one to write it in originally. You're the one I'm verbally chastising. I love how you guys are getting smart. They're on to us, Jim. They know that I'm going to ask them a question.
Well, people are genuinely smart, aren't they? I mean, we
I know my people are smart.
Yeah, we consider customers stupid, but they're the smartest people to come in. I mean, they really are. Customers are not stupid. There's a wealth of information out there. That's why you want to turn it into a conversation, because they already got all the information.
Well, Jeff Holman is from Chapman Nissan. He already wrote in, thank you. And, hey, congratulations.
Where's Chapman Nissan? Where's that?
Chapman Nissan, I think it's out near me, aren't we? Mailing address, okay. Yeah, mailing address is great. Yeah, okay, it is in Philly. Hey, Chapman Nissan's in Philly. Woo-hoo. Woo-hoo. You know what? I bet you Janine knows them.
I bet you she does.
Yeah, I bet you she does. So, Chapman Nissan, congratulations. And we're going to get that out to you as soon as you send me a mailing address. And, oh, he wrote in, sure does. Okay, well, let's not mess around with this anymore. Let's get to our first questions. Jeff, you send me that mailing address as soon as you can. No, wrong way, Jim. Wrong way. Show the one with your mugshot on it. There you go.
I like keeping the mugshot. I wanted to keep people on this webinar. I don't want them falling off by looking at that.
Well, we didn't do the webcam for you. You said you wanted to keep them on the webinar.
Yeah, the webcam's out. We're not doing webcam.
I tried to talk him into it, audience. You have to believe me. All right, audience, we got a lot of contact info up there for Jim Kristoff. So if you have a question you don't want to ask on the webinar, you want to get in touch with him directly, hey, guess what? We're going to let you do that. We got phone numbers, website addresses, email addresses. You go on and do it. Okay, but our first question comes to us from Stacy. And Stacy says, what do you see as the best practice in staffing the service lane? How much time do they spend in the service lane? That's a great question. I think we had a similar question to this on part 1 that we did this. This opened up a whole big can of worms.
Right.
That is a great question. Do you have somebody, like one person who takes care of it, or do you spread it out amongst all of the salespeople? How do we do the service lane stuff?
That's a question that gets asked in nearly every dealership. How do I staff this thing? What do I do with it? And I can tell you need a dedicated person. You need dedicated persons out there, because if you've got anywhere between 10 and 20% of your database is an opportunity to sell a car to, and you're going through 500 repair orders in a month, that's 500 people that they need to wade through to figure out which ones are ready to go buy a car. If you think that's just a one-person operation, it's almost impossible to get to it with one person. And on top of that, if they do encounter someone that is ready to purchase a car, that we're going to go ahead and sell a car in the service lane, that precludes that person from even talking to anybody else that happens to be going through that service lane. So here's the answer. I always like to see at least 2 people out there dedicated to the service lane. If you round robin salespeople out there, if one person's out there on Monday and a different person's out there on Tuesday and Wednesday and a different person's out there on Thursday and a different person's out there on Friday, it's going to fail. You've got to hold people accountable, and the only way to hold them accountable is have a dedicated team of people out there. I encourage you, no matter what the size of the dealership, you really need 2 people. At least 2 people. I've got dealerships that have 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 people out there, and believe me, and I started this webinar with, I've got several dealerships that are doing in excess of 100 sales a month through just the service drive. That's how good they are at the mindset. They've really got it down pat. They've got the mindset down pat. They've got the word tracks down pat. They've got, just in case the customer says no, we're going to follow up with them on a regular basis. We're going to keep planting that seed, and we're going to keep on watering it all the time. So I always say you've got to have a dedicated team. It's got to be at least 2 people. They're out there 24/7. There's plenty of opportunities. Believe me, those 1 or 2 people out there are going to have more opportunities than what's walking in the front door. So it's a dedicated team. There's no doubt about that.
Interesting. Okay. I wanted to tell you that Scott wrote in, thank you, good info, Shelley from Tonkin Gresham Honda. And David wrote in, I used to be our dedicated person, but I hadn't been on these webinars yet, and I sucked at it.
Well, let's get the suckage out of there, David. All right, let's get you out there selling some cars and making some money.
I think he definitely has the information to do so. Now, by the way, our winner also sent in a question much earlier in the presentation as well. Jeff wrote in, do you have top dealers that are willing to let people come and shadow with them on how to do this whole selling from the service drive thing, from different areas of the country, for example?
I'm sure there are some stores out there that do that. I've got a couple of stores in Florida that are willing to do that. For the most part, they dealers, and I can speak as a former dealer myself, you know, it's a little difficult to have people shadowing. They seem to get in the way. So I think the best way to do it really is take these processes and go out there and just go do it. Because I can tell you in any process, it's crawl, walk, run, then you're flying. So I can tell you, you know, when I used auto alert on the retail side. When I as a general manager, I had auto alert in one of my stores. And I can tell you, I screwed it up worse than anybody that's out there. I messed this whole thing up because I was simply trying to sell cars to customers. And when I finally figured out that wasn't the approach, and I started buying cars back from customers rather than selling them cars, it was like the light switch went on. And we just started selling cars left and right. And it's a great approach. It's a great process. For those of you that have auto alert, I have a whole process in a PDF form that I'll be more than happy to send you. If you go ahead and email me, I can send it out to you. I have the whole process from soup to nuts. It's 28 pages long. It's like a little book. But I can tell you, it goes from A to Z on how to do it. And by the end of that, if you just simply follow those steps, you're going to be just fine.
Okay, you heard him, audience. He has it. I don't have it.
Just shoot me an email. My email's right on there, jim.kristoff@autoalert.com. If you're with Auto Alert, and believe me, I'm going to go double check. I'm going to make sure you're a client. So if you are a client, I'll be more than happy to send it out to you. No problem.
And thank you again for all of the birthday wishes. You guys are the bestest. I just love you guys. Okay, Jeff, I hope that answered your question. Next question comes to you from Stephanie, who, by the way, has a few good questions coming your way. So Stephanie wrote in, I have a lot of customers that did not buy their cars at our dealership and only service them here. How is that going to change the story, quote unquote?
It really doesn't change the story at all.
Yeah?
Just because they didn't buy the car there doesn't mean they're not considering getting another car. Again, you know, with data mining systems, you're going to get new payments, what the payments could be, and all these other things. I can tell you, don't even look at them, because it doesn't matter. Here's why it doesn't matter. These people, like I said earlier in the webinar, if you bought a 2010 Honda Accord 4-door LX back in 2010, the likelihood of you getting that same exact car is only 10 or 15% of the customers are going to get that same exact car. They're going to get something different anyways. So when you're approaching these customers, whether they bought the car or not from the dealership, your initial approach is to see what's in the mindset of the customer. Are they at the point where they need something else? And if they're a customer that didn't buy the car from the dealership, the story remains the same. I'd love to buy that car back from you. I can't find these cars at the auction. Matter of fact, this is the easiest way we have to replenish our used car inventory, is to buy customers' cars back from customers that service their vehicle with us. That way we have all the service records. And what if I told you, if we could buy it back from you, what if I told you it's a possibility? Because I don't know if it is. It's a possibility. I might be able to keep your payment right about the same, and you don't have to give me any money. I mean, those 3 words, it's a possibility, are the only thing that changes in the initial offer to the customer, the initial conversation with the customer. You know, if you've got a data mining system and you can tell them, well, geez, you don't know if you can keep their payment about the same. To the customer, it really doesn't matter. If you approach them and simply say to them you'd love to buy their car back from them, in their mind, in the customer's mind, they're going to be at a point where, geez, they want to buy my car back from me. I didn't get that navigation last time, and they want to buy it back so bad. Why don't I just go ahead and get that navigation? And of course, the payment's going to go up. If they get a bigger car, the payment's going to go up. It's not all about the payments, folks. It's not. It's all about where the customer's mindset is on where they are in a vehicle purchase. What do they really need? What would they really want? What do they desire? That's really where you've got to get to. So payments don't matter. If the customer didn't buy the car from the dealership, it doesn't matter. It's still the same story. You're interested in purchasing their car back from them. You'd love to have it. And what if I told you, and here are the 3 words, it's a possibility that I could keep your payment about the same. That's all you have to ask. And if they're interested, believe me, they're going to proceed. If they're not interested, that's okay. Plant the seed, keep watering it.
Well, there you go, audience. And Stephanie, great question. Jim, we have another handful of questions for you, so here we go. This next one comes to you from Samantha. Samantha says, what data mining tool do you use? And I already wrote back to her, you probably use Auto Alert.
That narrows it down a little bit, right?
Okay, but she said she does have a data mining tool that she uses, and it provides comparison quotes, but it does not provide her with an opportunity to say that she doesn't need any money from them. Is that something that Auto Alert can do? And is that exclusive to them, or how? I mean, apparently her data mining tool doesn't do that for her.
Well, there's two answers to that. There's a 2-part answer to that, I should say. The first part is Auto Alert. We work all our deals with no money down, and it's got to be right about that same payment. Because let's face it, how much money do most customers want to put down? The answer is 0. They don't want to put any money down. So we work all our deals with no money down. And the second part of that answer is this: if you're doing a comparison for them, if you're showing them a comparison, this is what you're doing now, and if you got another car, here's what your payments might be and everything else. Isn't that a salesy pitch? That's a salesy pitch to someone. And again, the customer's mindset is they're skeptical of everything we say. They're skeptical of everything we present. They don't believe any of the newspaper ads. They don't believe anything that they see on TV. They don't believe anything on the radio. They don't believe anything in direct mail. They're very skeptical of all these presentations. That's why I say stop doing presentations and start having conversations. Make it a human element, not just a robotic element. A robotic element is to walk up to every customer. Hi, Mr. Customer, here is a comparison quote we can give you. Would you like to purchase an automobile? We haven't found out anything about the customer. We haven't talked to them. We haven't turned it into a conversation. So if you're just handing out comparisons, here's what they're going to do. They're going to throw it in the trash. It's almost like sending them a direct mail piece. And I'm not saying all those things are bad, because some of those things have some great value to them. But the biggest value is to have the human touch, is to go out there and have that conversation, tell them the story. And then once they start believing what you're saying, they stop being as skeptical, then you can do your presentation. Then you can show them your quote, because then you've told them you want to buy their car, and if they're receptive to that, then you can start showing them your quote. Then you can start using your data mining tool to help sell that automobile. But start with the conversation first. Start with that conversation, and then go into your comparison quotes, I think you'll have a lot more success doing it that way.
Well, Samantha wrote in, she says, LMAO, because she loved your robotic voice. She wasn't the only one, by the way. But she says, yep, I totally agree. So thank you so much for that, Samantha. All right, let's get to some more of these amazing questions. All right, I'm just going to say it. I'm going to butcher your name, and for this, I apologize in advance. Lejeric? I probably said that wrong, but let's just go with that. Lejeric asks, if we're supposed to not sell the vehicle and have a conversation, what steps would you suggest in getting to that point? So let's review, Jim.
Well,
They bring their car into the service drive. Let's start there.
Right.
They bring their car in the service drive. They take care of what they have to do. Now they're in the waiting room, right?
Well, not necessarily in the waiting room. They could still be in the service drive. They could still be standing there with the car. Maybe the porter hasn't taken it away yet. The most important thing is to let the customer conclude their operations with the service advisor. Let them conclude what they came to the dealership to do, and that's service their vehicle. So let them go ahead and sign off on the repair order, and that ends that part of fixing their car. When they do that, that's the opportunity to walk up and start having this conversation. And I always introduce myself this way. Hi, I'm Jim Kristoff. I'm in charge of vehicle acquisitions here at the store. I've got some salespeople that have business cards that have director of vehicle acquisitions. So if you want to be a director, you go ahead and get yourself a business card printed that way. You can be the director of vehicle acquisitions. But it's all about walking up to them and starting the conversation. Yeah, that's the whole idea of being in the service lane 24/7. You got to be out there. You can't be sitting at a desk. You can't be just looking at the appointments that are coming in, because not everyone makes an appointment that comes into the service drive. You know, the other girl that had the question, what happens to the people that didn't buy cars from the dealership but use your service department? Those are opportunities also. We want to talk to all of them. So you should be out there finding out what's going on with the customers by simply having conversations. And if you're using a data mining tool, it's going to lessen the amount of people that you're going to go talk to, because as I've explained, somewhere between 10 and 20% of your database are opportunities to sell cars to. Well, that means 80 or 90% of the people you're really not going to speak with in the service drive. So you're using a data mining tool is the best pre-qualification you can actually do with a customer. So once you pre-qualify them, you understand they're in a position to get another car for about the same payment with no money down. They're an opportunity that you can sell a vehicle to. Those are the ones you want to go talk to. Go talk to them, start the conversation, tell them the story. They're either going to say yes or no. If they say yes, proceed with a deal. If they say no, not a problem. I'd love to buy this car today. I'll also buy it tomorrow. I'll buy it next week, next month, next year. Please, when you get ready, Mr. Customer, Miss Customer, to sell that vehicle, we just want to be number one on that list. So you've got to start the conversation, but you got to start conversations with people that it makes sense to. That's why you need a data mining tool to go out there and do that. So I hope that answered the question for you.
Thank you so much for that great question. Again, I apologize if I ruined your name. And by the way, we got a ton more questions in just because of that question and your response to it. So we do have a lot of questions in the queue right now. We're going to do them in order, so let's keep trucking along, okay? Next question is from Stephanie again. Hi, Steph. She says, do you talk to the customer every time they're in for service? I feel as though they would get annoyed with me and maybe dread coming in. Good question.
Well, if we present it in a way that we're flattering the customer, then they're not going to be annoyed with us. And what I mean by that is when we approach a customer and start telling them that we'd like to purchase their automobile, we've got to put it into a context of, wow, you made a great decision, Mr. Customer, Miss Customer, when you originally bought this car, because now it's one of the hottest cars we can have in our used car inventory. And you're flattering someone by telling them, you have exactly what I'm looking for. could you please give me the opportunity to buy it from you? Because the first time we approach them, we tell them the story, they tell us no. Now they come back the second time, the third time, the fourth time. Well, the conversation's a little bit easier. We can say, the third or fourth time, we can say, are you ready to sell us your car yet? Because every single, let me put it to you this way. Last week, we put 3 2010 Accord 4-door LXs out on the used car lot that we purchased here in the service drive from our customers, and we sold all of them in a week. You have a 2010 4-door Accord LX. That's why we want to buy your car from you. Please, would you please allow us to do that? It would be very beneficial for us, and if it's beneficial for us, it's got to be beneficial for you. Here's what we're willing to do. We give you a brand new 2014, keep your payment right about the same, and we won't even need any money from you. So by approaching these customers and flattering them, telling them they have exactly what we want, and we want it so bad, we want to buy it back from you. That's the way to approach them. There should be no reason at all, if we approach the customers in the correct way, that they should ever get mad at us. They really should. And when they do, we've done it incorrectly. We've done this whole approach incorrectly.
Excellent. By the way, Dave wrote in. He said that he would sell Jim his car. So Jim, if you'd like to buy Dave's car, I'll hook you up.
Sure.
Okay.
No problem. No problem.
All right, Stephanie wrote in, thank you. That was perfect response. Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, Bianca, one of our attendees, Bianca, she is ready to go. She says, Jim, how long does it normally take to get started using this process in our dealership? Boom. What do you got for her?
Boom. Well, if you've got auto alert in there, is the day we roll you out is the day you start doing it. So day one is the answer. I mean, we're going to go ahead and roll you out there. And here's what's going to happen. On day one, you'll mess it up because no one starts off as the expert. Even the expert starts off as the amateur. So you've got to crawl, you got to walk, then you're going to start running, then you're going to start flying. So here's what the best advice I can give you is go ahead and screw it up. Because believe me, there's plenty of opportunities coming through the service lane. If practice makes perfect, you keep doing it, pretty soon all these word tracks just flow out of you. See, it sounds simple when I say it, doesn't it? I mean, because the word tracks just flow out of my mouth because I've been doing it for so long. I know what the customers are going to say, what their objections are going to be, how I'm going to overcome them. It's very simple. There's only a couple of objections they can really have, and it's simple. Just go right back to the story, and that's how you overcome the objection. So it's a simple process. It can happen from day one. You'll screw it up on day one, but hopefully by day 45, day 60, day 90, hey, maybe in a week you'll have it down pat. Who knows? It takes everybody a certain degree of time to get very, very good at this. But it's a simple word track. It's a simple process. We try to keep it as simple as possible, and that's what everybody loves, is the simplicity of it.
Bianca, I'm looking forward to hearing about you screwing it up. Good luck, girl. Okay. Addison wrote in, what can third-party lead providers do to help dealers sell in their service lane? Jim, do you have any advice on that one?
Third-party lead providers to sell in the service lane. Why would you need a third?
I just read the questions, dude.
I understand. These people are already doing business with you. They're already coming through your service drive. Third party, you don't need a third-party lead provider. These people are already your customers. They're already doing business with you. They're already in your service lane. You know, why would you need anything else? You've got X amount of customers that are coming through your service drive every single day. I mean, the average dealership, when I say the average dealership sells 125 new and used cars every month.
Right.
Out of 125 new and used cars every month, they average about 800 or 900 repair orders, 750 to 900, somewhere in that range right there. So if you've got 900 repair orders, 10% of that on the low side, because it's between 10 and 20%, 10% on the low side is 90 opportunities. If you close 20% of them, you got yourself 15, 18 car deals. I mean, it's just math at that point. So
okay.
you really don't need a third-party lead provider.
Well, thank you very much for that. I'm letting you know we have a ton ton of questions in.
Okay,
And they're
let's
all
go.
really good. So we need to keep these answers as short as possible so we can get through as many of these as we can, okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, follow-up question from Bianca. She said, so if I'm just getting started, about how long do you think it will take before we start seeing progress? 3 months?
You should start seeing progress from month number 1. There's no doubt about it. It's a simple process using a data mining system. You know, you get those 10 or 20% of the customers. They put them right in front of you. So that way, every customer that comes into the service drive, all you do is cross-reference it against your data mining system. If it's a customer that's an opportunity, let's go talk to them. So you're going to have instant results.
Okay, fabulous. Okay, next question comes to, okay, comment that just came in from Samantha. She said, my first full month doing this, I transitioned over 40 and 14 bought. Whoa.
Woof.
In
There
her
you go.
first month, Samantha's a rock
There you
star.
go.
All right.
There you go. Now let's get all 40. That's the trick right there. That is the trick right there, because you know sometimes it gets lost in transition right there, because we've told them a story, we have identified we want to buy their car, then all of a sudden we start treating them like a normal customer walking in the front door, when in essence we've got to have that attitude of gratitude and stay with that focus right there. So.
Samantha says, I have to rely on salespeople or I would have, ha ha ha. And wow, I'm sure that's even better than she was probably expecting. 14 in the first month, that's amazing. Okay, let's get some more questions. Tom has an interesting question. Tom, this is a good question. He says, what do you say to cash buyers since there is no payment? Does the story change?
It's the same story. You still want to buy their car. You just got to figure out what stage of life they're in. Because if they're ready to buy something else, they're going to. Whether they lease the car, whether they finance the car, whether they paid cash for the car, it is the same exact word track. I'd like to buy that car back from you. I'd love to have that opportunity. And if I could, would you want to go ahead and get another one at that point? I mean, you're just transitioning right there, because what you're trying to do is find out if they're ready to let the dealership buy their car back from them. Because if they're not, they're just going to tell you no. You plant the seed and keep watering it. If they're ready, they're going to engage, because cash buyers will pay cash again. Maybe they won't pay cash again. Maybe they'll say, geez, I'd like to finance it this time. Any kind of answers that they're giving you, those are all buying signals. Just proceed. So no matter what, whether they pay cash, lease, finance, it's all the same story. You want to buy their car back.
I like it. And Tom, the answer to any question that you never ask is always going to be no. So you might as well ask the question. There you go.
Exactly.
All right. Different Tom, this is Thomas actually. Thomas says, what do you think is a good approach for leasing customers versus customers who are financing? What's the average time that a person is in a lease that they would consider upgrading?
Well, again, at 24 months, if they're, most leases today are 36 months, 39 months, right in that time frame right there. Again, at 24 months, they're already thinking about their next car. Matter of fact, at the end of 36 months, when they lease an automobile, they only have 2 options: get another car or start walking. So they're going to be in a fast forward mode. A lot of these customers I see in Auto Alert, we can take them out of their car, put them in another one 8, 9, 10 months into a 36-month lease, because we know sometimes the lease deals are good, sometimes they're great. The money factor is stupid low, the residual is stupid high. Somebody just bought a car 9 months, somebody leased a car, I should say, 9 months ago, then all of a sudden the program got just tremendously better. We can already take those people out. And those people all they're thinking is payment. When you lease an automobile, you're certainly buying a payment. So whether they have a payment on a 2013 or a 2014, it's all the same to them. If they can upgrade a year, why not? So leasing customers are probably the easiest ones.
There you go. And by the way, Thomas was in here under a pseudonym. It's actually from Tina. Tina says hi. I don't know. I just read the names. Okay, here we go. Next question comes to us from Samantha again. Samantha says, how do you handle the people who are in for service and know they want to look for a vehicle when they drop off their car and walk right by you. How would you recommend the person who's supposed to transfer the person, the salesperson, me, get credit for that potential sale? And do you... Oh, she just kept going. And do you think the person who works with the service customer should be able to sell vehicles directly or pass them off?
Well, I've seen it work in both circumstances. I've seen, where you've got, what I call a concierge in the service drive that just identifies the opportunities and turn them over to a salesperson. Or I've got stores that they take it from cradle to grave. They take them through the whole process. So I've seen it successful in several different ways in the store, but the only way you're going to stop the customer from going into the showroom and bypassing you is if you let them. Get in front of them. If you've got any indication, what you've got to do is you've got to get really good at working with the service advisors. Because the service advisors will give you the thumbs up or the high sign, say, hey, I've got one over here. He sounds like they're ready to do something. So that way you become a team out there, and you're not just a sales team working in a service environment. It's supposed to be a team. Build a team out there.
Yeah, she wrote in, I was told that if they're going to go past me and go to somebody else, to let them go, and it's been very frustrating. She says.
If that's the process of the dealership, that's the process of the dealership. So I mean, it's some dealerships run different ways, and I always say, if you can get in front of them, get in front of them. If they go past you, if that's what they want you to do, you got to let them go do it. So
you can't trip them with a plate of donuts or something?
There are chains and
chains. See?
Yeah, chains.
We could get one of those baby gates. Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
I like that. Chains,
Caution.
handcuffs.
Yeah.
Whips.
Oh, and by the way, Samantha, Stephanie wrote in, you're not the only one. I have the same problem over here, Samantha. So, maybe something to bring up.
Well, yeah, that's a process situation. So if what you've got to do is the process working at the store? If it's working, why change it? But if it's not getting maximum results, let's try something else. That's the way you always got to look at every process, because every process changes all the time. If you're not getting maximum results, let's change the process. Let's try it a different way.
And maybe at some point you could ask them to just try it out a different way for a month or two and see if the results are same, better, or different,
Sure.
That might, give it a trial period and say, give me this shot. I know I can do it,
Right.
It's just a suggestion. I don't know anything. All right, here we go. Curtis has our next question. Curtis says, what are your thoughts on using a non-sales professional as the associate working the service drive? If the customer proceeds, what?
Yeah, I have several of those out there. I have several dealerships that use what I call a concierge type of person that just basically gives them the initial, talks to them, has the initial conversation. If there's any ray of light, we turn it over to a dedicated sales team that knows how to handle these customers with kid gloves, because there can be a fall off there. If we just hand them over to a salesperson and they take them through a regular sales process, we haven't made that customer feel like they're really wanted, needed, coddled, handled with kid gloves. It's got to be a dedicated sales team that you're handing them over to.
Okay, and that also came in from Tina as well. She says, but she's putting you on the spot. She says, who do you prefer, a greeter or a salesperson in the service drive?
I like a salesperson, only for this fact, because they can answer more of the questions. Customers, let's face it, here again is stupid knowledge, right? Because we're stupid if we don't acknowledge it. Customers hate to get handed from one person to another. Mm-hmm. They just start having a conversation and building a rapport with one person. Okay, now I'm done with you. I'm going to give you to another one. That's the way the customer feels. We got to start understanding how the customer feels. So if that transition isn't smooth, and again, I've got stores that do it that way with a greeter or a concierge that hands it over to a salesperson, but I can tell you those successful stores right there handle those customers with kid gloves. They hand them over to a dedicated sales team that understands they need to put their arms around these customers, so it's a smoother transition. a smoother transaction for the customer. So it's seamless that way.
You know, I feel like we're already surprising that person in the service drive somewhat by approaching them with this prospect. So then I agree with you. Then having, you know, then you get them hooked and then you're like, okay, let me put you in touch with this person instead. I agree with you. I'd feel more comfortable to, you know, somebody to take me from the initial all the way through, you know.
Right. That's the way customers think. The customers don't want to get handed off from one person to another. They, you know, why do we go to the same doctor? Why do you go to the same hairdresser? Why do you go to get your nails done at the same place? Why do you go get your clothes at the same place? Why do you get your shoes at the same places? Because we're comfortable. We talk to the same people, and that's what it's all about. It's like Cheers. We want to go where everyone knows our name.
All right.
So, you know, I always like it better that way.
I still have a dozen or so questions left, so let's keep trucking along because we still have a lot of people on the line. All right, next question comes to you from Alonzo. Alonzo says, great question from Stacy, and you know what, that was a while ago. But, the next one is, how do you get the other staff not to jettison your efforts by treating clients poorly or not walking in step with the new service mantra? Everyone has to be on the same page with the process, right?
Amen to that, brother. The only way you're going to, you know, the beatings will continue until morale improves. And that's the best way I can coin that for you. Because
did you beat people at your dealership?
Never. Look, although I did have a Louisville Slugger, very handy.
Of course you did.
Of course. Absolutely, I agree with you. Everyone needs to be on board. When I go out and train a dealership, I ask for service managers to be involved. And a service manager will say to me, well, I'm not involved in the selling of the cars. No, you're not, but you have to understand what's going on out in your service drive. That's what I mean by you need a dedicated team of salespeople that already understand what we're doing out there. So we need dedicated managers that already understand what we're doing out there. Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more that there needs to be a cohesiveness between everyone, and everyone's got to have a complete understanding of what you're doing and how you're doing it, or else it's going to fail. There's no doubt about it. That's one of the tipping points where a dealership will fail in this process is not everybody's on board. You got to get everybody on board.
Alonzo, good luck, man. I hope it turns out for you. Okay, next question comes to us from Samantha again. She says, how do you determine commission off of a transition or an actual sale?
Well, there's a whole bunch of different pay plans out there. You know, I've seen, you know, some good ones, some bad ones. Usually a transition person gets paid a bonus for turning that customer over to a sales staff, and then receives an additional bonus when the vehicle gets sold. So it usually ends up being two bonuses there. You get an initial bonus for just finding the customer and giving them to the sales staff, and then you get an additional bonus if they actually sell the car. So, you know, what those dollar amounts, of course, vary per region and dealership, and, you know, I always say get as much money as you can, Samantha, because you're worth it.
That's right, Samantha, you are. Quick question, very quick question from David. He says, do we have to be an auto alert customer to get that thing you were talking about with the process?
The process is auto alert specific. So, you know, if I sent it to you, it really wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. If you just re-listen to this webinar right here, you know, that is the mindset and the process of how to do it. But the process that I have documented is pretty much auto alert specific. It's, you know, it has screen captures of the screens that we utilize and things like that. So it really wouldn't do you a whole lot of good, to be honest with you.
I gotcha. Okay, I got to get to my man Joe over here. He's been very, very patient, and he has a lot of things to talk to you about. Okay. First of all, Joe says, what if you get a lot of customers who only want to sell their car, but they're not interested in buying a new one?
Well, my first answer is, what are they going to do, walk when they sell their car. Joe, to be honest with you, you're going to find a very, 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 very small percentage of customers that just want to sell their car outright. And quite frankly, the dealership will buy them. Lord knows, 20 years of playing general manager out there, finding used cars, finding good quality used cars is one of the hardest things you can do in a dealership, because you've got to have them out there to sell them. If you don't have them out there, you can't sell them. So, we used to go through, Auto Trader and Cars.com. We used to call all those customers, say, hey, you're looking to sell your car. We'd love to buy it from you. And I had a purchase bonus out there. I'd pay any salesperson $200 for every car that we could buy. So if they just want to sell their car, that's fine with me. Let's go ahead and buy it.
Okay, let me get to the rest of Joe's question, all right? Then Joe went on to say, do you advertise this vehicle acquisition program? What if you try to advertise this vehicle acquisition program and you get a lot of people who only have old models, 5, 6, 7 years old, and are interested in selling them, and then maybe not even be interested in buying a new one? Or I guess we should really focus advertising then on 1 and 2 and 3-year-old cars. So he has a lot of questions. Do we just do this in-house? This is like an in-house, somebody has to walk in, service drive, and then you just pop this vehicle acquisition thing on them? Or are you actually, this is a thing, you're advertising it and you're going full hog?
Well, advertising it is counter to what this whole webinar was just all about. I don't want to advertise this. This is all about the mindset of having a conversation one-on-one with human beings. Mm-hmm. So really advertising, I said, customers are skeptical of what we have to say, right? They don't really believe anything that we send them in the mail. They don't believe direct mail. They don't believe in the newspaper, the radio, the TV, whatever method of advertising you're using is probably not as effective as the dealer thinks it is. Because Lord knows, when I was a dealer, I used to think all my advertising was effective, and in essence, I had no idea whether it was effective, because it's a crapshoot. You're just throwing it all out there. Yeah, you have to have, you have to get your name out there and things like that. This is not a program. I don't refer to it as a program. I don't like using the words it's a buyback program or a vehicle exchange program. I stay away from all that kind of verbiage. I stay away from all those kinds of things. I want to have a one-on-one conversation with a customer about buying their car back from them. And if you've got 100 repair orders going through your shop every day, well, you've got 10 to 20 opportunities. Let's go find 2 or 3 people out there to work the service drive that can go talk to all these opportunities. Let's make it feel special.
All right. No, I totally get that. Joe, if you have a follow-up question, hey, send it on in. I'm here for you. Okay. Oh, next question comes to us from the Alex. Hello, Alex. How are you? Okay. Alex wants to know, Jim, have you seen sales managers or salespeople as more effective in this process? If it's a salesperson, do they turn to another person? And in a situation where a salesperson is running into a lot of other people's customers, it would seem that these deals could fall through the cracks because they're not concerned about other people's customers. I'm sure you have a process for this, and I'm curious how you would handle this situation. Interesting.
Absolutely. I've got stores where you've got salespeople that have been there an awful long time. I've got one particular Mercedes store where you've got salespeople that have been there 15 and 20 years. I think the low person on the totem pole, meaning in terms of longevity at the store, has been there 5 years. So when we initially rolled Auto Alert out into the service drive, of course the salespeople that are out there are running into other salespeople's customers. Here's how we got past all that. I got the general manager to agree to pay the salesperson or salespeople out in the service drive a minimum commission just for turning that customer back over to the original salesperson, and they earn that minimum commission based on the fact that we actually sell a car. So now what happens if your minimum commission, let's say it's $200, you get paid $200 for turning that customer back over to the original salesperson. The original salesperson doesn't have to split the deal that way, but that $200 cost, well, in other words, what we're going to pay you, we're going to add it to the cost of the car. So it really gets watered down. That way the original salesperson still feels that they get the full commission. You feel fulfilled because you earned a commission out there. You earned a minimum commission, whatever it is, $100, $150, $200, $250. I see commissions out there, minimum commission like that. But it's important everybody gets paid along the way, or else it's going to fail. Because if you're out there saying, I'm not going to talk to that one because that's so-and-so's customer, well, really, in essence, the dealership lost. And if the dealership loses, they didn't gain anything. So as a dealership manager, I would rather pay you to go ahead and turn that customer back over to the original salesperson and pay you and compensate you in a way that's fair for you and fair for the original salesperson. So that's how that gets handled quite well, matter of fact. That gets handled in a lot of stores that way.
Excellent. Thank you so much for the great question, Alex. Oh, and Alex says, so how does the word track change if it's a new person talking to someone else's loyal customer?
Well, again, it's the fact that you're in charge of vehicle acquisitions. You're trying to purchase the vehicle, and that's how the conversation starts. And if the customer is giving you, the signs that they want to proceed, you can then segue right into, geez, I see your original salesperson as Eliana. I know Eliana would love to see you and talk to you about this. Let's go ahead and bring you on up to Eliana, and she can proceed further with this. So that way, when I turn the customer over to Eliana, the salesperson, Eliana, this is Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith's going through the service drive today. He expressed an interest in letting us purchase his car from him. And Eliana already knows that I'm a salesperson selling cars out on the service drive. They already know the whole process. That way the customer sits down in front of the original salesperson and they just keep right on going. It's a perfect segue.
I love it. Alex, if you're going to use this, I wish you the best of luck. I think it's great. Okay, let's get to this question from Elmer. How you doing, Elmer? Oh, thank you for the happy birthday wishes. Question for Jim. What if customers only want a smaller car, which will make you or the dealership less money in the end on payments, maintenance, parts, tires, etc.?
Well, it's still a sale, right? It's still a sale. It's still money. It's still profit. I would rather have a little bit of something than 100% of nothing. So whatever the profit may be, whatever it is, it's just what it is. It's the luck of the draw. Sometimes you make a big commission. Sometimes you make a small commission. Just the way life is, right? So you've got to go through those processes, but it's still a sale. You're right, Eliana. It's still a sale.
That's right. Okay, let's get to our last few questions from the ladies. Let's get to this one from Stephanie. Stephanie says, I know this sounds rude. Maybe I should have read this question before I went to it. No, it's not rude. How does the story change if you're selling to an older person, 70 to 80 years old? That is a lot of my clientele. It's different when you sell to a man versus a woman. So is it a little different when you sell to somebody who's, elderly as compared to somebody who's, in their 20s?
Absolutely not, because usually the older you get, the more they actually listen to what you have to say. So you slow the whole cadence of your delivery down to a slower pace. In other words, you're going to mirror what they are. So you're going to slow it down a little bit. You're not going to be as fast-paced. You can take your time and you can really explain it to them, why you really want to purchase their vehicle. And they love hearing the stories. So man, woman, young, old, it truly is the same exact story. If you've got a young person that's fast-paced and you can see they're fast-paced, you want to mirror what they're doing. So you want to present it at a quicker pace. If you've got some older people that are doing it at a slower pace, slow the cadence down, mirror yourself to them, and just tell them it's the same exact story, though. It doesn't. That's why I like the story. It doesn't change no matter who you're speaking with. It doesn't change at all.
Stephanie, good luck with that. Okay, let's get to this next question from Samantha. Okay, it's a long one. Samantha writes, do you think that people that are trying to transition service customers should be able to provide a trade-in value? I have customers that come in and may be interested in finding out what their vehicle is worth, but they don't want to work with sales. At our location, sales is the only way to get a trade-in at this time. Also, being a vehicle acquisition person, what should that person be able to do? Where I am at, it's a matter of moving the customer over ASAP, but at that point, I'm not really living up to the title I was given, which was Quality Assurance Manager. And this comes from Samantha again.
All right, Samantha, let's start with the first part of that question about trade values. If you go on to, if they truly want to know what their trade value is, you can certainly give them an idea what the trade value would be by telling them you can go home, get on the internet, and go on to Kelley Blue Book, and you can get an approximate value right there. The internet's a wonderful place, right? I mean, it gives you all the answers to all the questions you could ever ask. So if they're interested in getting a roundabout figure, geez, what can my vehicle possibly be worth? You might want to get the permission and put it into a process that you'd be willing to share Kelley Blue Book with them, or whatever website that you'd want to share that kind of information. But you need to preface that by telling them, listen, that gives you an approximate idea. Let me ask you this question. If you want to just know what your car's worth, there it is on the internet. But how would you like to go ahead and get a new one, because we really like to buy this one from you, and see where they're at there. If they simply just want to know what their trade value is, Lord knows there's literally 5 million websites that they can go to and figure that out. That information's already out there. So, and you can relay that to them. There's literally 5 million websites you can go to and find out that information. We're here to provide you that service if you really like to take a look at it. But again, we're all about wanting to buy your car, and if we buy your car, you're going to need another one to drive home in. So would you like to proceed doing that? So that's how I'd answer that question right there. But again, you really need to go back to the management and find out how they want to proceed with that part of that process. What was the second part of that question, Eliana?
Also, being a vehicle acquisition person, what should that person be able to do? Where I am, it's a matter of moving the customer over ASAP, but at that point, I'm not really living up to the title I was given, which was Quality Assurance Manager.
Well, I'm going to assume that you're not taking the customer, you're not taking them through the entire sales process. You're just turning those customers over to salespeople. So if you're doing that, I mean, that's part of the job description right there. If you want to go further, if you actually want to sell cars, go ahead and develop yourself. Tell them, listen, I want to sell cars, and let them take you through the training and the processes of really how to sell automobiles. And then you can take it from cradle to grave, because everything's a process, everything's a development. You got to develop yourself to go where you want to go. And believe me, if no one's going to sit there and develop you, you're going to have to reach out and develop yourself, make yourself better, and ask to be developed.
Samantha, I hope that helps you out. Good luck. Okay, let's get to this question from Stephanie. Stephanie says, I have a huge problem trying to get people to let me buy back their Honda Elements. Is there something I can say to them to talk themselves into it? She also has a problem getting people to let them buy back an older car that is no longer made. So if there actually is a car that your dealership actually does want to buy, how is there like a magic, or is it the same story? You're going to tell me it's the same story, aren't you?
It's pretty much the same story. If they're so in love with their vehicle that they want to drive it 150,000, 200,000 miles, well, that's what they're going to do. So, again, that's a small percentage of the customers, because again, I'll go all the way back to the slide where I said, the average loan is 64 months, the average trade-in is 42 months. That means the vast majority of people are trading their cars in while they still have payments. So if you got people that have no payments, that want to keep them, the older cars, sometimes you're just not going to flat out talk them into it. But here's what I always say to them. Are you going to keep that car forever? Because I've never seen anybody keep one forever. There's going to come a point in time when you're going to need another automobile, and at that point, with 300,000 miles on that thing, I don't even really know if we want to buy it at that point, God bless you. I think you've gotten your money's worth. You've ridden that thing all the way to the dirt. So God bless you. But you're going to need something at some time. We're here for you. I mean, that's going to be a very small percentage of customers.
Stephanie, good luck. Okay, another follow-up question from Samantha. She says, what does the Auto Alert data mining tool base their quotes off of? Is the trade based on market value pricing, estimated? Do you find the numbers offered through your service are in sync with the ending sold numbers? Can you give Samantha a little bit of information on that?
I can tell you that our system, our trade values, our rates, residuals, all of our mathematics are spot on. I mean, that is hardly ever an issue that I ever hear from any store. And if I hear them from the store, it's just simply the fact that it was an error when we gathered the data. It was an error when the data was put in. So it's very simplistic, and the information is spot on. It's always spot on.
Thank you so much for the great question. And Lejeric wrote in, he hasn't verbally abused me yet for mispronouncing his name, so who knows, maybe I'm doing it right. He snuck one last question in for you, Jim. Okay. What is the follow-up on paying the service drive person a minimum working, I don't know if that's the end of the question, but can you give any advice on, is it considered a spiff or?
Well, usually what I suggest is if you're just out there working the service drive and you're turning those customers over to the original salesperson, and you don't have that opportunity to go sell them. In other words, they're not an orphan owner. The salesperson is still there. Here the suggestion that I give and that works in a lot of stores is that we just pay them, that salesperson that's turning them back over to the original salesperson, a minimum commission, whatever the minimum commission is in the store, and that minimum commission gets placed against the cost of the vehicle, so that way the original salesperson still gets the full commission. They're not splitting commissions and things like that, because when you start splitting commissions, people get angry, and we don't want to make anyone angry. So,
well, Jim, I am spent. You spent 2 hours, 2 amazing hours, dropping some incredible knowledge on my audience. Thank you so much. It was great. And audience, I know you agree. So when you get that survey that's going to go out to you in another minute, please let me know what you thought of Jim Kristoff's presentation and how you thought he did today, because I would really, really love to see what you guys thought. Jim, thank you so much. Amazing, amazing stuff. Audience, don't worry. You know what? I recorded this one. I'm going to be sending out that link to you in just a couple of hours. I got to get it posted online and stuff. So look for that link from me. And Jim, do you want to say goodbye to anyone? Because you have a lot of people on here. I don't want to cut you off.
Well, I certainly appreciate everyone's attendance today. Great questions, great thoughts out there. All I can do is tell you this. You've got to go. You've got to go for it. Just go out there, use the word tracks, get into the mindsets of the customers. Because again, it's stupid knowledge. We've got to get into the minds of the customers, and that way we actually know what they're thinking, so we can approach them in the correct way. And I thank all of you for the great questions and your attendance today. Thank you very much.
And audience, seriously, if you have anything else you want to discuss with Jim Kristoff, please get a hold of him. He's so nice to talk to. He's the greatest guy ever. And he can easily be reached at Jim Kristoff at AutoAlert.com. Is that right? Jim.Kristoff.
Jim.Kristoff at AutoAlert.com.
Or you can check him out at JimKristoff.com. And invitations will be going out tomorrow for our next amazing DealerOn webinar. And I got to tell you, I am so excited to do a webinar with this guy. And you know him very well, right, Jim?
Yes, I do. I know Jim's a great guy, great presenter. And I'm going to tell you, there's no one in the industry that is better than Jim in the area of compliance.
And as a matter of fact, this will be our very first DealerOn webinar that we've ever done that has to do with compliance. And so, yeah, I got you the compliance guru himself, Jim Radonia. So let me tell you about this. The title is How to Defend Against the Advertising Compliance War. Recently, Federal and state authorities have declared war on dealer advertising practices, and their favorite target is your website. The days of just a slap on the wrist and business as usual are long gone and have been replaced with multi-million-dollar penalties, lawsuits, 20-year consent decrees, and negative publicity. A lot of negative publicity. Inadvertent, trivial, and easily overlooked missteps in digital marketing initiatives can result in costly and devastating consequences for the dealerships that haven't adhered to the existing compliance regulations. Employing a comprehensive compliance program will not only protect dealerships from liability, but also greatly enhance the dealership's reputation, increase sales and profitability, and increase customer satisfaction and retention. In this crucial one-hour webinar, automotive compliance expert Jim Radonia will teach you how to definitively defend yourself against this onslaught and ensure that your digital marketing compliance is bulletproof. So if you're ready to learn how to defend your dealership against the advertising compliance war, then don't miss this very important presentation. And don't forget, our weekly webinars are held every Thursday, 12 noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, and 9 a.m. Pacific. And we have some amazing webinar subjects planned for this year. So if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions regarding the DealerOn webinars and our topics, please feel free to contact me directly. Again, my name is Eliana Raggio. I love hearing from you, so you can track me down online. I'm everywhere. I'm on Google+, Facebook, Twitter. I'm on all the automotive social networks. And you can email me directly at eliana@dealeron.com. Thank you all so very much for spending this time with us today, and I hope to see you all on a future webinar in our continuing education series. Have a good one.